fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
1865 June. What is this date? This was the day Abraham Lincoln gave the famous Gettysburg Address. Abraham Lincoln was thought to have the symptoms of smallpox at the time of the speech. The official name of the smallpox pathogen is Variola vera, which is derived from the Latin word varus, which means pimple. Variola doesn't exist currently in nature, but is found in high-tech security labs for research purposes. This disease first affected Africa and then spread to China and India. Since the disease was so contagious, it spread all over the world and wiped out entire communities, and it had a mortality rate of 49%. This disease is commonly spread by face-to-face contact and by air droplets, for example, sneezes, coughs, or talks. In addition, contaminated clothes and people breathing the same air are also some ways this disease can spread. Edward Jenner discovered this vaccine in 1796. Jenner discovered this while his patients who worked with cattle were exposed to a much milder disease called cowpox. Those patients never came down with smallpox. Then he realized that other milkmaids who experienced cowpox never had smallpox. Edward Jenner's son was among the first people to be vaccinated with this vaccine. The smallpox vaccine can prevent or lessen the harshness of the disease for some people if it is given within 4 days of the infection, and if it isn't given, the chances of dying are more likely because the symptoms start developing. Isolation was the only other way to cure smallpox. Apparently, it doesn't eradicate the disease, but it stops it from spreading. The virus first replicates itself in the lymph nodes and then in the bone marrow. Eventually, the blood vessels in your skin and the mucous membrane of your nose and throat. Parts of the virus are then released into the saliva and most usually transmitted to another person. The three main symptoms of smallpox are fatigue, headache, and sneezing. After the first symptom of smallpox occurs, that is, between 12 to 14 days, then fatigue and fever occur. Headache occurs after the time of the fever. Sneezing has occurred for 2 to 4 days and helps in spreading of the disease. Abraham Lincoln was affected by this disease, but recovered, surprisingly, after 3 weeks. He then returned to his full duties and led the country to success. Many populations were wiped out, and 49% of people with smallpox died. The survivors were left with scars, and some people were blinded. After fever, headache, discomfort, back pain, exhaustion, vomiting, and diarrhea, there will be bumps on the skin that will confirm the possibility of smallpox. The effects of smallpox on the Incas, Aztecs, and Mayans were most devastating. Beginning in Colombia, smallpox spread quickly before the European explorers arrived in the empire. It began to spread even more when they got back to their country.